Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1873BN. Today's date is May 21st, 2019, and the title of the episode is, We Are Now in the Build-Up Phase. The Trap Has Been Set. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about the Patriot Charger. After a crash, every second counts. Use the built-in powerful LED torch or flashing red emergency beacon for nighttime emergencies. In case you're trapped due to flooding or fire, use the seatbelt cutter and window breaker to free yourself. Patriot Charger is always within reach because it plugs into your car's cigarette lighter outlet and also doubles as a car phone charger and a portable power bank. So don't wait until there's an emergency. Make sure you're prepared. Get the amazing 6-in-1 Patriot Charger by clicking the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we are continually hearing that the Declass is coming. We are in the build-up phase, and they're doing this on purpose. And we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. Now, the deep state, they are continually pushing their investigations against Trump. And they're looking at everything. They're trying to find something. And they just can't find anything. But who's looking at those who are investigating Trump? Who are looking at the investigators? Not many people. I mean, look at Biden. He's running for president. And now we have stories of Ukraine and China, that he had business dealings in these countries. And there were prosecutors looking at his business dealings. And it seems like they were pressured to back off. We also see Nadler's son working for a law firm in New York that is investigating Trump. Conflict of interest? Nobody says a word. We now have Elijah Cummings. So what is Elijah Cummings up to? Well, a charity run by his wife received millions from special interest groups and corporations that had business before her husband's committee and could have been used illegally, according to an IRS complaint filed by an ethics watchdog group. Cummings is chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. His wife, Maya Rockeymoore, 48, is the chairman of the Maryland Democratic Party and briefly ran in the state's gubernatorial race last year. Rockeymoore runs two entities, a nonprofit group called the Center for Global Policy Solutions and a for-profit consulting firm called Global Policy Solutions, LLC, whose operations appear to have overlapped, according to the IRS complaint filed by watchdog group, the National Legal and Policy Center, on Monday. The complaint states that the arrangement may have been used to derive illegal private benefit. Global Policy Solutions received more than $6.2 million in grants between 2013 and 2016, according to tax records. Several of the nonprofit group financial backers, which include Google, JP Morgan, and Prudential, have business interests before the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Cummings has served as Democratic chairman of the committee since January and previously served as ranking member. The largest contributor to the nonprofit was Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson, a company that is regulated by Cummings' committee. The foundation, which gave a total of $5.5 million to Rockeymoor's consulting firm and $5.2 million to her nonprofit, ceased supporting her groups in 2017. Tom Anderson, director of the National Legal and Policy Center's Government Integrity Project, which has been investigating the nonprofit arrangement, said the potential for corruption is off the charts. He said Rockeymoore declined to let his organization view her nonprofit's most recent public financial records as required by the IRS. When a powerful chairman of a committee of the House of Representatives has a wife that is bringing in money from entities with interest before his committee, and she is not providing the transparency mandated by the IRS, there's a serious problem, he said. The potential for corruption in this situation is simply off the charts and can't be understated. We hope that Cummings works with his wife to end the stonewalling and provide the public with what legally mandated all charities provide. Now, again, those people who scream the loudest have the most to lose. And we're seeing it from Amash, we're seeing it from Cummings, we're seeing it from Nadler, Schiff, all the way down the line. And if you notice, these individuals, they are panicking. And this is why they're going after Trump with everything they possibly can. Now, last week, Judiciary Committee Representative Gerald Nadler issued a subpoena for McGhan to come in and testify. Well, McGhan didn't show up. And now Nadler is saying, listen, we are going to hold him in contempt. Well, the Department of Justice issued a memorandum to Trump's legal counsel stating that Congress may not constitutionally compel the president's senior advisors to testify about their official duties. The Department of Justice 8-page memorandum written by Assistant Attorney General Steve Engel clearly argues the separation of powers and states that Congress could not lawfully exercise any inherent contempt authority against Mr. McGhan for asserting immunity. The constitutional separation of powers and states that Congress could not lawfully exercise any inherent contempt authority against Mr. McGhan for asserting immunity. The constitutional separation of powers bars Congress from exercising its inherent contempt power in the face of a presidential assertion of executive privilege. And the question is, can Congress compel McGhan to testify about matters described in the Mueller report? No, because the immunity of the president's immediate advisors from compelled congressional testimony on matters related to their official responsibilities has long been recognized and arises from the fundamental workings of the separation of powers. Those principles apply to the former White House counsel. Accordingly, McGhan is not legally required to appear and testify about matters related to his official duties as counsel to the president. Now, this OLC opinion is based on nearly 50 years of bipartisan precedent. Administrations from both parties have regularly reaffirmed the opinion of then Assistant Attorney General William Rehnquist in the 1971 Rehnquist Memorandum describing the legal basis for protection from forced testimony. Since the 70s, the OLC has consistently advised that the president and close advisors are protected from being forced to testify before Congress. So, if you go back in time, in 2014, Obama directed Assistant to the President, Director of the Office of Political Strategy Outreach, David Simas, not to appear in response to a congressional subpoena. In 2007, Bush directed former counsel to the President, Harriet Miers, not to appear in response to a congressional subpoena. In 1999, Clinton directed counsel to the President, Beth Nolan, not to appear in response to a congressional subpoena. Bottom line, the president's immediate advisors are an extension of the president. Congress may no more summon the president to a congressional committee room than the president may command members of the Congress to appear at the White House. So everything that Nadler is saying is propaganda. It's called making it seem like he has leverage and having the mainstream media push this out there. And of course, what they do is they spin everything. They don't look at the law. They don't look at what past presidents have done. They like to spin the whole entire thing. Now, Representative Doug Collins, he tweeted out the following. Even more ridiculous than refusing to read #Mueller report is Nadler's claim that POTUS asserted privilege over McGhan testimony. That's false. He, like Obama, simply cited OLC saying advisors can't be compelled to testify. If 44 didn't show disdain for the law, then 45 isn't now. Collins continued, what better way to ensure we don't hear from McGhan this week than by subpoenaing a witness who's categorically immune from testifying? Thankfully, McGhan's testimony is in Volume 2 of the Mueller report, 99.9% of which is available to the chairman, should he ever choose to read it. And we know that he doesn't want to read it because there's nothing in there that he wants. They thought they were getting a different report, one with obstruction in it. This way they can use that to impeach Trump. They don't have it. Now they're scrambling. They're panicking. They don't know what to do. So they're throwing everything they possibly have at Trump. But it's not going to work. Now, Doug Collins, he just points out how Jerry Nadler wants the theater but doesn't want the truth, specifically highlighting how the Democrats in Congress conspicuously don't want to present Robert Mueller for testimony. Jerry Nadler has not demanded testimony from presumed author of the special counsel report, Robert Mueller. It is likely the Judiciary Committee's lack of interest surrounds the fact that they know Mueller was a figurehead with no substantive control over the small group led by Andrew Weissman. The special counsel probe with sunlight upon Mueller would be a risk to Nadler. And Collins is right. This is theater. This is the show. Going back to what Q has always been saying, enjoy the show. Now, Representative Doug Collins, he's all over the place today, man. He released transcripts from several Department of Justice officials, including Loretta Lynch, Andrew McCabe, and James Rybicki. And he released them just like he released all the others. Now, people are starting to read these, and people are coming out with certain information that they're finding in these transcripts, and one of them is about Loretta Lynch. Now, former Attorney General Loretta Lynch told the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees that she never instructed former FBI Director James Comey to call the probe into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private email server a matter instead of an investigation. She said, "I did not," she said to the committee last December when asked if she had insisted Comey refer to the investigation as a matter. She said, "I have never instructed a witness as to what to say specifically. Never have, never will. In the meeting that I had with Comey, we were discussing how best to keep Congress informed of progress and discuss requesting resources for the department overall. We were going to testify separately." In a June 2017 interview under oath with the House Intelligence Committee, Comey said otherwise. The Attorney General had directed me not to call it an investigation, but instead to call it a matter, which confused me and concerned me. So we have Lynch saying one thing. We have Comey saying another. Well, it looks like somebody is lying, and someone is trying to cover something up here. Very interesting. Now, M3 Thods tweeted out the following. This is at M2 Madness. Lynch is screwed. This is page 52. Now, Madame Attorney General, do you believe the FBI or Department of Justice ever investigated the Trump campaign for political purposes? Miss Lynch, I know that they did not. Mr. Nadler, did President Obama or anyone in his administration ever make a demand or request that the FBI or Department of Justice infiltrate or surveil the Trump campaign for political purposes? Miss Lynch, never. Now, this is going to come back to bite her, because when it's shown that the opposite happened, it's going to show that she lied. So it looks like she might be screwed. Now, the Patriots are definitely on the offensive, and they're going back through everything that they investigated that's out in the open, where they can discuss it on the mainstream media and other places, and they're putting the FBI, Department of Justice, the intelligence organizations to the test. Devin Nunes is out there, and he outlines his request to the intelligence agencies to prove Joseph Mifsud is a Russian intelligence operative. He said, hell, it's not too difficult to predict where the Mifsud story ends up. It's likely to come out that Mifsud was working for a British intelligence interest, or off the books and friendly with dossier author Christopher Steele, Orbis, etc. So he said, FBI, CIA, all of you, prove it. And guess what? Nobody said a word. Now, M3 Thods at M2 Madness tweeted out the following. Nunes, we've sent 8 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Likely, we're going to have more, maybe later this week. I'm pretty sure once you track down the information we put together, it would be impossible for people not to be prosecuted. Many people. Take a listen to what Nunes says.
With the 3 investigations that we know of publicly, the 2 U.S. attorneys who are looking into the origins, one of them specifically at the direction of the Attorney General, and also the Inspector General at the Justice Department, are you confident that as those investigations play out, 2 of them, of the 3 we hear we may get within weeks, will give us answers about the origin, either clear the FBI or raise some questions about what happened?
So I am confident in our investigation that we have done. So we've sent 8 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Likely we're going to have more, maybe later this week. I'm impressed with the new Attorney General. I don't know the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, but everyone says that he's going to do a good job. But, I can't really answer that question until we meet with him, we talk about our concerns. But I'm pretty sure once you track down the basically information that we have put together in a nice package, it would be impossible not for people not to be prosecuted.
Well, a lot of people are talking.
Now, as you can see, the Patriots, they are on the offensive, and they are driving the car now. The deep state, they're passengers. They got to go wherever the Patriots drive them to. And you can see they are attacking them one after another. They're building this up. And to take this a step further, Paul Sperry tweeted out the following. Judicial Watch Monday sued the Justice Department to obtain all of Special Counsel Mueller's contracting records during his 22-month investigation, including any payments to Steel Orbis, Fusion GPS, or its subcontractors. Department of Justice had refused to provide the data under the Freedom of Information Request Act. So now Judicial Watch wants all this information. He's been asking for it, but Tom Fitton hasn't received it. Now they're suing. And guess what? He's going to get this information. So now with Representative Doug Collins releasing these new transcripts, investigative reporter Sarah Carter pointed to Tricia Anderson's testimony. According to Carter, Anderson was an FBI lawyer who worked in the area of national security, who worked directly with James Baker and Lisa Page. She talks about Bruce Orr in the 302s. She talks about the fact that she basically signed off on the first FISA warrant on Carter Page. Further, Carter said she believes exculpatory evidence regarding information on Carter Page and George Papadopoulos were withheld from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court by the FBI officials, which we know they were. Anderson evaded repeated questioning as to whether there was enough evidence to obtain a FISA on Trump. Carter said the transcripts, along with other evidence obtained by Congress and the soon-to-be-released Department of Justice Inspector General report, will reveal that senior FBI and Department of Justice officials involved in the Trump campaign investigation with Russia curtailed the rule of law. We're going back to the beginning on how this all started. How did you get the warrants? Did you give the courts all the information? Or did you hold things back? Did you obtain the warrants illegally? Were you spying before you even had warrants? And were you using the dossier to cover up the spying that you were doing? Yes, this is the big picture. And this is what's going to bring them down. It's the cover-up. It's not the crime. And they've been spending a lot of time covering up what they did. Now, President Trump's attorney appealed a federal judge's order upholding a subpoena for Trump's financial records. The lawyers said in a court filing that they were asking the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals to review all aspects of District Judge Amit Mehta's order in favor of the subpoena issued by the House Oversight and Reform Committee to the president's accounting firm. Mehta, an Obama appointee, had rejected the president's legal argument opposing the subpoena, finding that the House Democrats had facially valid legislative purposes in requesting the documents, and that it is not for court to question whether the committee's actions are truly motivated by political considerations. Trump's attorneys had argued that the subpoena was part of a fishing expedition by congressional Democrats in search of damaging information ahead of the 2020 elections. Mehta had also rejected the president's request for stay on the order, writing that he will only allow a 7-day waiting period previously agreed to by both parties to be in effect before Mazars had to hand over the records. The president said that his lawyers would appeal what he called a crazy ruling. Now remember, do I think that Trump has problems with his tax returns? No. I think he's just holding them back because guess what? There is no law. There's no reason to give it to him. And he's pushing and pushing and pushing, saying, I don't want to give this, I don't want to give this because they're under audit. If the Dems actually get them, I think he's going to use this to his advantage because the IRS went through a full and complete audit, think about it, gave it the green light, and now the Democrats have it. And what is it going to show? Just like everything else, there's nothing there. And he trapped them. He trapped them because they spent all this time trying to get it, and they ended up with nothing. They spent 2 years waiting for the Mueller report to use the obstruction piece to impeach Trump, and they got nothing. Each time there's a trap that is set up. Now, the deep state, they're pulling out all the stops. They're making threats. They're calling for impeachment. They won't get impeachment because they need 2/3 of the Senate. We know that Q has told us that the Senate was the key, and this is never going to happen. Remember, they were going to use the obstruction part of the Mueller report. They don't have it. They are panicking. The Patriots are on offense. The Patriots are watching the deep state players as they continually push ridiculous threats, which means absolutely nothing. It looks great in the press for those people who are still sleeping because they're threatening this, they're threatening that, they're using propaganda. What are they afraid of? Well, they're afraid of everything that they have done. They're afraid that Barr is going to follow the rule of law. They're afraid of everything that they have right now, and they don't want to lose it. That's what they're afraid of, that they'll be found out. That's why they're fighting so hard. But there's good news. The confirmation from the full Senate came despite from objections from California's Democratic senators. For the second time in as many weeks, the Republican majority in the U.S. Senate has confirmed a Californian-based nominee to sit on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit over the objections of the state's 2 Democratic senators. The Senate voted 53 to 46. It was pretty close. And it looks like Daniel Collins is the approved nominee. We also have Kenneth Lee, who was approved to the Ninth Circuit. So things are changing. Now the buildup is continuing. First we had Meadows saying the Declass is right around the corner. Now we have Gaetz. He tweeted out the following: I believe we are just days away from receiving the most compelling evidence in the biggest political scandal ever seen in American history. This is the buildup phase. They're continually building this up, and letting the deep state sweat it out. And you can see they're throwing everything against the wall, hoping something sticks, but nothing is sticking. It's completely falling apart. Even down in Florida, where they're saying that Russia hacked 2 counties during the election. Well, this turns out to be fake also. Paul Sperry tweeted out, breaking: the 2 Florida counties where mainstream media claim Russian intelligence hacked into election systems were predominantly GOP, not Dem counties. No voter tabulation system hacked, was simple email spear phishing, and only voter registration rolls breached. No data were altered there. So that whole story, down the tubes. Now, down at the border, Trump is continually tweeting out about Mexico, that they're not doing enough to stop the illegals. He said the following: I'm very disappointed that Mexico is doing virtually nothing to stop illegal immigrants from coming to our southern border, where everyone knows that because of the Democrats, our immigration laws are totally flawed and broken. Mexico's attitude is that people from other countries, including Mexico, should have the right to flow into the U.S. and that the U.S. taxpayers should be responsible for the tremendous costs associated with this illegal migration. Mexico is wrong, and I will soon be giving a response. And if people, once again, want to come into this country, you need to follow the procedures. And the only reason they're jumping over the border is because they're drug dealers, human traffickers. They're not really seeking asylum. They were told to come up here because if you're on the up and up, you would go through the port of entry. Remember, we don't want criminals. We don't want drug traffickers. We don't want human traffickers. We want good people in this country. Why would we take other countries' criminals or drug dealers or gang members? It makes no sense. And this is why those people have to come over the border in that way. Now, Trump, he is announcing that they're going to have a great health plan. And he's going to announce this in the coming next 4 weeks or so. And they're hoping that they can win back the House, keep the Senate, and they'll be able to pass this health care plan. Do I think it can pass now? Most likely not. Hopefully, it's a good health plan where the cost is much, much lower. The benefits are much, much higher compared to Obamacare, where we had penalties if we didn't take it, and the cost of each plan continually went up and up and up. And people just couldn't afford it anymore. Now, many, many reports ago, we talked about how the government was making lists. And it seems like this is definitely true. Now, remember, Facebook came online as LifeLog. The CIA project went offline. And Q has been telling us that Facebook is really LifeLog. Now, it seems that Facebook, well, they have a list. And this list is called the Hate Agents List, where they keep names of many, many people. It's on a spreadsheet. And it seems that there are many people on this list, like Candace Owens. She was suspended for 7 days. We also have a Lebanese-American conservative author and religion critic, Bridget Gabriel. She is also on their internal list. Now, the list, which is an Excel spreadsheet, features mostly right-wing figures and some left-wingers, along with examples of signals that suggest the individuals might be hate agents. The signals are divided into Level 1, signals that occurred in the past year, Level 2, 2 years, and Level 3, 3 years. Signals include hate speech, support for a designated hate entity or designated hateful ideology, calls for violence, the promotion of ethno-states, acts of violence from supporters, and possession of hate paraphernalia. Now, once again, Candace Owens, she's on the list, but she doesn't fall into any of this. The spreadsheet also includes a recommendations field next to each individual's name. In this field, Facebook employees can advise whether the individual should be categorized as hate agent or not, and if they should be removed from the platform. So they're keeping a list, and they're marking down who they believe spews hate. And they either suspend them or they just get rid of them completely. Now, do I think Facebook is the only place that does this? No, of course not. The other social media giants do this. Why do you think the White House right now is asking people to turn in the evidence that they were suspended or they were removed from social media platforms, and they want the screenshots of why they were removed? And why do they need these lists? They need them to silence these people. And the social media giants do it in many different ways. YouTube and Google, well, they alter their algorithms, they alter their trending, and they hide people in a certain way so nobody can see them, while they allow the mainstream media and the others to come up in trending. Even though they might have 10 or 20,000 views, they say they are trending, but the people with 200, 800, or a million, they're not trending. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. But we see what they've been doing. They've been trying to keep the people silent. It doesn't work. Go back in history. They've tried this many, many times. Remember book burning? When the Germans, during the Nazi regime, they were burning books. During the Soviet Union, burning books. You can't silence the people. You can try, but you will always lose, because once the people get a hint of what is going on and they start to realize who the true enemy is, it's game over. And this is what we're seeing right now. Actually, Macron is out there and he is panicking. What happened in Italy? What happened in Australia? What's going to happen in Germany? Well, we're going to see it happen in France. He's out there and he's saying that there is a threat. He is warning of an existential risk to the EU. Macron has warned of this existential risk to the European Union ahead of upcoming elections for the European Parliament. When asked to name the biggest enemy of Europe, Macron responded by saying that it is those who don't believe in its future. The nationalists who want to divide it are its main enemies. And I see it for the first time that there's a secret agreement between the nationalists and foreign interests whose objective is to destroy Europe. It's not to destroy Europe. It's to get rid of those people who are not elected, to get rid of the elite who alter the elections in their favor. Now, why is he so worried? Because who's running against him? Le Pen. They just came out with some preliminary poll numbers, and they're running neck and neck right now. And Le Pen, her party holds a narrow lead over Macron. Look what happened in Australia. He's nervous and afraid that this is going to happen, and most likely it will. We see Maduro right now in Venezuela. He's proposed early elections for the National Assembly, and he wants the opposition involved in this. So right now, we can see that everything the mainstream media has been talking about, where we're invading Venezuela, we're invading Iran, we're going to war, this is all fake. We're not going to war. What is happening here is Trump is taking everything the deep state has done, taking everything that they tried to do, and he's turning it around. He's removing those agents within each of these countries, allowing the country to be free, just like North Korea. Think about it. Kim Jong-un, he travels everywhere. Are we going to war with North Korea? Absolutely not. Are we going to war with Venezuela? Absolutely not. With Iran? No. The plan is to put pressure on the deep state and remove these deep state black sites from these countries so the countries can operate completely free without pressure from the deep state. And once this is all done, guess what? All the troops everywhere can come home. Remember, Trump is battling the military-industrial complex, battling the neocons, battling the deep state, battling the central bank. And who is driving now? Who is in control? Trump and the Patriots. They're calling the shots. Yes, the deep state, the neocons, they might try something. The central bank might try something. But the Patriots, they know how to deal with them. They know how to counter their moves. And in the end, the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.